Welcome into the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. It's Friday, September 16th, and I hope you've all had an outstanding week. I can barely contain my excitement right now. I am so stoked to talk about this next band. 2022, it's been a hell of a year for new music. So many remarkable albums released to date from bands that many of us have been listening to for years, maybe even decades, and a ton of brand new music from a lot of artists, a lot of new artists that are bringing the thunder and really establishing themselves. I love the dynamic between the two. There's so much that I've listened to because of this channel that I might not otherwise would have. So I hope that this channel has been just as beneficial to all of you. I hope that you're enjoying yourselves, and I hope that you enjoy this next project that we are getting ready to talk about. This band, the Black Angels, is one of my favorite bands of all time. They released this new record, Wilderness of Mirrors. It is their sixth studio album and their follow-up to 2017's Death Song. And this band from Austin, Texas is without a doubt the best psychedelic rock outfit that is out there at the moment. This band for me is one of those bands, and we all have these artists, these bands, where the moment I heard them, that first second, I was just immediately pulled in. I just, from the moment that I heard the Black Angels, I was immediately blown away. And it had been a while since a band had really affected me that way. I think the last time that a band hit me that hard was Interpol. And I think it's an interesting little phenomenon to look at because as you start to get into music and as you grow older, you're exposed, or at least I was, to so much simultaneously. So those artists like the Velvet Underground and the Clash and Bob Dylan and all of these phenomenal artists over the years that have influenced me so much. I feel like when I was younger, there was a barrage of it. And in absorbing all of it, it was really tough to maybe have a band hit me the way that Interpol did in the 2000s and the way that the Black Angels did in the 2010s or late 2000s anyway. But these guys just for 15 years now, I've been searching for a band that has had the effect on me that the way that these guys did, and I have yet to find them. I'm always keeping my fingers crossed, always holding out hope, but I'm thrilled after 5 years to have them back for that reason. These guys, they just fill this space for me artistically that no other band is capable of doing. And these guys, the psychedelic rock, the garage rock, the surf rock, all of these classic components that they bring together, that they add such a fresh, energetic take to. This band rocks out. And if you're going to make me really dial it in, I think that their sound is a combination of 13th Floor Elevators and the Stooges. And especially like just this album in particular is really heavy, but their sound has always been really heavy, really loud, especially if you experience their live shows. Go see this band. They always play tiny venues, and they are perfect at filling out a space with as much sound as it can possibly handle. Truly is one of the rowdiest, most fun concert experiences that I've ever enjoyed watching this band. We talk about all the other influences on this particular record, Wilderness of Mirrors. Raga rock is a term that gets used, but Eastern influences, especially Indian. And it reminds me a lot of the psychedelic music that was being released by the Beatles and the Beach Boys in the mid 60s. There's a lot on this record that reminds me of Revolver. I hear Alex Moss. I always think of Grace Slick and Jefferson Airplane. That influence is definitely strong there. And as far as the garage rock feel, you get the Kinks, Pretty Little Things, Small Faces. There's all of these different sounds that are coming together, and then they just had that thick, heavy rock sound. So many different textures and layers that are going to make this a fabulous sonic experience over and over and over again. I've listened to this thing 3 times now, and it continues to just, oh my goodness. I'm at peace, but also ready to go to war. And that's the dynamic that's in their music. It's really interesting. I think there's a quote from Alex Moss that says, we want you to throw in our music and get into this psychedelic space where you want to rob a bank. It's a very interesting dynamic how their music can take you to that place, but there's this intensity, just this visceral element to it. And that's, I think, that dynamic that gets me. And there are very few bands out there that I think capture that pure raw power the way that these guys do. Highlight for me is Stephanie Bailey on this thing, the drummer. This is definitely her best performance on record, I would argue, and I think that someone like Mo Tucker would be very pleased with the influence that she's had on artists in particular, Stephanie. I almost think that she'd be willing to dress up like Wayne and say we're not worthy, because that's how good Stephanie's drumming is on this record. She is outstanding. I mean, really, truly the highlight of this record, but there's a lot to enjoy. Without a Trace, your opening track, I've pretty much just been listening to shamelessly on repeat, but I love the mellow open, kind of this like carnival music that comes in, and then it's just this hard hitting, grinding riff. You get this howling vocal in the background that is just so primal, and it's stirring all those, just so much emotion. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, what is going on? What is about to happen? And then it just settles into this groove. This is also a band that very political, but when you look at their writing style, Alex Moss's lyrics in particular, this man knows how to write political music. This man knows how to approach issues in a way that just about anybody can look at what he's trying to say and pretty much agree with his perspective on things. I dig that about the man. I dig his ability to bring to light hard-hitting issues that you're forced to take a look at, and especially through the music. The music conveys this sense of intensity that carries that as well, and I think it's really important. I think that this is one of the few bands out there, this is another thing that makes them so good, that can handle that type of content. And you listen to these songs, and you know, this music is about now, but I guarantee 20 years from now, sadly maybe, you know, this music is still going to be relevant. The lyrics and what these musicians are trying to tell all of us is still going to hit home the way that it hits home now, and that's what makes these guys such incredible songwriters. Without a Trace, though, certainly a wonderful way to open up this record. I love that single. And after listening to that song so many times, I was like, what's the feel of the rest of this record going to be like? And your second song, History of the Future, hits, and this might be one of the heaviest sounding things that the Black Angels have done. I was blown away by this riff, and it just rips right into it. I love the bass. I mean, I love how super heavy it is. And then the verses mellow out. You get this just mellow psychedelic rock that they trip into, this dope just galloping percussion from Stephanie, and then it just keeps hitting in and out of this hard rock and feel. What a song. And it was a good indication that this record was going where I wanted it to. I really love when these guys hit heavy and hit hard. It's just a good reflection of their live performances, I've always felt. Empire's Falling is your third song. This might be my favorite. Rips right into it again. Love the bass. The distortion from the guitars on this song, just outstanding. Love the up-tempo groove that's established with this track. It's got a great energy, just an excellent riff, good punk feel. And that's what I love about this record too, talking about the garage rock and the punk feel. And it's something that it's always been a part of their music, but I really feel like it's taking over quite a bit on a lot of these songs on Wilderness of Mirrors. El Jardinia is your fourth track, is going to close out your A-side. I mean, just one of the best A-sides that I have heard in a very long time, I will argue. The energy from start to finish and the quality of the compositions is just mwah. This song reminds me of Jefferson Airplane quite a bit. That influence is strong. There's such a fresh take on a classic sound. That's really where this band excels. I love the driving tempo. There's this really cool breakdown that pulls back the pace of the song. Really an exceptional track, another single that the band has had out, and one that I've listened to quite a bit. Your fifth song is going to kick off the B-side, La Parade, Government Wall Blues. This is got this cool grandfather clock bell that opens up the intro, and then thick mid-tempo psychedelic groove that's established in the songs. Another track where Stephanie's drums are just a highlight. They are so big, and they establish this hypnotic groove that you just get lost in. It's impossible to dig your way out of this track. It's a good thing that they follow it up with Firefly. Mellows things out. This comes at the right time. This record is pretty intense lyrically and musically up to this point. It's going to maintain that intensity with the lyrics, obviously. That's just something that's not going to subside. That's what I dig about these guys. They're intense. I admire it. And they're just great post-punk feel on this song. It reminded me a lot of Television, honestly. And I love the melody on this song. It's in a way very unsettling, and that's something with a band like this that I really enjoy. Make It Known is your seventh song. Big galloping drums in this thing to open, cool bass groove, Creates a really fun mold with the percussion, excuse me, and then lots of fun guitar work that just gets laid over those two elements. Really cool track. The River, your eighth song, is going to close out the B-side. Great acoustic intro, lays a nice foundation for Eastern influences to drive this song. Lovely textures. And then lyrically, this thing is just a cool homage to the history of music. I really appreciated where they took that song and what they were trying to do with it. Wilderness of Mirrors is your ninth song. It's going to kick off your Seaside. You know that I like to be, well-rounded in my album reviews. And if I have a criticism, it's that the title track is maybe the weakest moment on the record. It's still a good song, but it's the intro feels just a little superfluous. It takes up a good chunk of the song. It's a 4-minute song that I think has like a 45-minute intro, but it's got a cool riff, carries a fun groove. It's definitely not a highlight though. I mean, there's a number of really amazing songs on this record, and I feel like that one just, especially for the title track, it just doesn't quite hit the mark like the others do. Here and Now, your 10th song. This is an interesting moment too. This song had more of like an 80s alternative rock feel to me. I got a hint of REM in this track. It had this cool sultry feel to it that it was a nice change of pace, mix things up a little bit. Really dig that track. And then 100 Flowers, a Paracuja. That is a auditory hallucination, if you're not familiar with that term. It's a pretty cool title track, or track, I should say, not a title track. That would be Wilderness of Mirrors. But 100 Flowers, a Paracuja is, it just got this nice driving acoustic riff, cool jam. Really like there's like this break beat in the song that's interesting. Bit of surf rock, feeling Dick Dale driving the feel of that song, but it's a cool moment that's going to close out the C side of the record. And then for your D side, you're going to go with A Walk on the Outside to open up. That's your 12th track. This is where I was really feeling the Beatles' Revolver on this particular song. Got a little bit of Taxman and that groove on this particular track, but it's a great song, great way to open up that D side to finish this record out. Vermilion Eyes, your 13th song, is going back to that surf rock feel. I like the influence of that on this album. Just dives right into excellent guitar work and builds on the energy that opens up this record. And I like that full circle moment. This album opens up really intense with that A side, mellows out. They get more into some chill psychedelic stuff, but as this thing approaches the end on the D side, it picks that energy back up to finish strong. Icon, your penultimate track, sick riff and drums to open up, more guitars. This thing really hits hard the way that I wanted it to for a penultimate track. Again, coming full circle from the start of the record. There's a bass and drum breakdown in this song that is absolutely awesome. Really enjoyed that. And then your final track, Suffocation, biggest song on the record, big runtime. Surprisingly, a very moody, a very different song. I don't think the Black Angels have done anything like this track. And the first time I listened to it, it threw me off a little bit. It reminded me a lot of Deftones. And so with that in mind, I'm like, does this really fit what they're trying to do? Does it really fall into their sound? And after a couple more listens, I dig it. I really like what they're doing with it. I like that it closes the album. And maybe it's a sign of future things to come for the next project down the road. This is a band that's been pretty consistent, but they always do a marvelous job of tying in different influences, trying to go with a different feel with every record while maintaining that signature Black Angel sound, which is just so damn freaking good that there's no reason to change it. I know I'm biased. I said it before. I'll say it again. This is probably going to be my favorite record of the year. But all bias aside, I think that there's a strong case that this is one of the best albums of the year. A solid comeback after 5 years. And I think that given everything that's happened within that time frame, there's no better band to provide just a clear perspective and insight on how to navigate the world, how to manage that. These guys, they rock, and they keep on rocking with this album. We're going to vinyl please the hell out of this thing for sure. I hope you enjoy the Black Angels this weekend, and I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all of the things to help us blow this project up in 2022. Stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.